Welcome, friends, new and regular listeners from around the world. This is Red Eyes Radio, and my name is Henrik Palmgren, and I hope you are doing well. Our website is redeyescreations.com. There you can find radio, TV shows, video interviews, webcasts, music, audio commentary, films, news, and much more. The majority of all we do is for free, but we do have a whole lot of material available in our member section as well, for those of you who are hungry for even more and want to go deeper into the subjects that we cover. George Kavassilas joins us from Australia today to discuss his journey, work, and message in these interesting times that we are in. He's had an incredible range of experiences, including traveling up through the dimensions of our universe back in 2003 and rediscovering what life here on the planet is all about. We discuss the Ascension process, harmonics, the human experience, basically what it all is about, and how we are in the middle of a transitional period right now, witnessing the rise of a new human being. His website is simply georgekavassilas.org. His last name is spelled Kavassilas, georgekavassilas.org. Stay tuned for 2 very interesting hours. Hi, George. Welcome to Red Eyes Radio. It's wonderful to have you with us here today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us all the way from Oz, Australia.
Thank you, Henrik. I must say it's an absolute honour to be invited onto your show. Thank you very much.
We've had a lot of our listeners from around the world that have requested that we invite you to the program, so I'm really glad that we're able to bring you on today and to be able to merge together here and talk with you for a while. So this is going to be really exciting, I think, as well. But why don't we, I guess, set a little bit of the outline here first. I think that's appropriate, George. Maybe you can tell us about some of the experiences that you've been having since 2003. We might have some listeners with us who are not familiar with your work or some of the things that you've been talking about for a while now, George.
Yeah, sure. From a very young age, I have been experiencing interactions with beings from other dimensional realities and other worlds. And so I was being taken on board ships, even from the furthest my memory goes back was about to the age of 5. And these continued throughout my youth, and they kind of really affected me at school too, because I'd be going up in these ships at night and then trying to stay awake at school was really difficult. I fell asleep in class on a regular basis, so that was a challenge for me. It affected me in that way, and many other ways, of course. And also later on in life, it continued, like this theme began emerging, and the theme has to do with these beings that wanted to actually prevent me from expressing myself, which I found it, and that's a very generalised concept of what's been happening throughout my life, and I found that fascinating. And then later on in life, I had some really, in recent times, like in 2003, had an amazing experience where I journeyed up through the dimensions of the universe, and I did not do it willingly from the personality of George. It was something that was orchestrated by a much greater aspect of my being, and that journey just really was amazing.
What do you think when you were I guess I don't know if you would classify these accounts as kind of abduction scenarios, but do you feel that this was the classical aliens in that sense, or was this more of a non-physical, spiritual abduction taking place, do you think?
Oh, okay. No, there was both going on, and there was malevolent beings which were working against my greater intentions of life, my journey here on this planet. And there was also some benevolent beings too, which I interacted with, which the interactions were just fantastic, like really incredible beings. And the knowledge and the wisdom I experienced from these beings was just amazing. So it was, I had both, and the theme became quite prevalent later on in life. And yeah, the classic alien grey, yes, I did experience those on many occasions, and had some very awful experiences with these beings. But I also met a species of grey which was basically once a human form and chose the path of technology and ended up morphing into the current form that they have. And they're the ones, the original strain of greys, they're the ones that say, please don't choose this path of technology because you will end up like us. Like they used to say, look at me, look at me, look what I've become. And they've become so detached from that organic, essential connection to life that they had returned and warned us, the human race, not to venture down this path of technology. But unfortunately, some other types of grey races caught wind of that and used it to their advantages here.
Now, do you agree with, I guess, in one sense, the classical theory that they're actually here to, for their own benefit in that sense, to actually try to heal or repair some of these damages that they've done through them, to themselves, through actually, harvesting human DNA and actually doing experimentation on human beings?
Well, they did very few. The overwhelming majority of the experimentations on human beings came from the negative grey races. And so the ones that came here did not come, the ones that came to warn us not to choose the path of technology did not come from a future timeline. They were a human race who chose the path of technology and are roughly about 1 million years in evolution ahead of our current state. And that is, if you choose a path of technology, technology does everything for you. Therefore, all your body parts atrophy, and really the physical condition they found themselves in is very unfortunate, very sad, and it is a very desperate time for this race to find their way back to the organic essence of life.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear about these two different sides that seem to be kind of struggling over humanity in one sense right now. At least we hear that from a lot of the different abductees around the world. But if we go beyond that paradigm for a little bit and just talk a little bit more about this experience you had in 2003, what do you think enabled you to have this experience? And would you compare it to anything else that you've heard from some other people from around the world?
I have had people share with me some of their cosmic experiences, but I haven't heard one yet, and I'm sure there are people that probably have had them, that have gone to the extent that I have travelled. And I'm not saying that out of ego, so I hope people don't judge me that way. It really came down to the point of my greater being had previously organised prior to my incarnation that at that point in time in my life, members of what I call my galactic family, so I'm talking about a fourth dimensional extraterrestrial galactic family. And that's not where I originally come from, of course, because we are infinite and we exist on many levels. But there's that aspect of myself that came from that domain. And they came and they actually picked me up. And they were members of, because I actually originate, there's so much running through information.
Sure.
So just to give it a quick background, the majority of the energetic stream of this current incarnation that I have comes from the blue star of Sirius. Not from a planet revolving around the star, but the star itself. And the star is actually a planet on a higher level, but because its frequency is higher, from down in these lower domains of the universe, we view it as a entity of light, as a body of light. And so that's where the majority of me comes from. I have a part of me that comes from the Pleiades as well. So if you were to ask me which star system I come from, I would say it's Sirius. And we all come from the stars, so I'm not anything unique or different from anybody else. So we all come from out there, and we've all incarnated here from out there. So what happened was my galactic family came and picked me up, and they took me to a much larger craft, which was closer towards the Sirius system, and placed me on this the reuniting of my family was just magic. Because when these beings turned up, the knowing instantly is there. And it's not like you see a lot of the channelers and a lot of the New Age sort of experiences that people are having where beings come and they smother them with love and they go, oh, I'm your family and I'm this and I'm that. It was nothing like that. It was like when your mother walks into the room or your brother walks in the room or your wife walks into the room, you know instantly who that is. No one has to prove anything to anybody. No one has to tell anybody who they are. It's just the knowing is there. And that's the difference. of the beings of who are your true family and beings who are here to actually try and deceive you. And so they took me to this very large craft and placed me on this really comfortable chair. It was shaped a bit like a dentist chair or a therapy chair, for want of a better term. That was the shape of it. It was very plush, and there were many races in the ship, and there was a lot of celebration and joy. And there was no technology involved in this, but what they did was they were able to sustain the life force of my body, because the journey that I took was not astral, it was not etheric. It was actually all of me that animates this body into being. All of my essence came out. So they needed to maintain the integrity of my body while I took this journey. Mm-hmm. And so I left with what I would call the I am, the soul, all of me came out, and I took this journey up through the dimensions of the universe. And it was absolutely incredible to see dimensional paradigms just shrinking down into a tiny vortex of light. I mean, you take billions of galaxies, and as you're moving up through the layers of the universe, you just see an enormous cosmos full of billions and billions of galaxies just shrinking down into a tiny vortex of light. And you're seeing it from a higher level. And as you go up and up and up, and then I got to the point where I got to the outside, to the edge of this universe. And this universe is a being. It's what we call God, the creator of this universe. And I had a wonderful exchange with this consciousness that is the creator of this universe. And we were looking beyond it out into what I call the omniverse, because universe is one verse. So it's one expression of creation. And so out there was countless other universes. And what I rediscovered, because this knowing is inside all of us, we've just forgotten it, is that all of those multitudes of universes out there are all aspects of each of those are inside this universe. And so all of you, every single person here on planet Earth and that exists inside this universe, has their own universe out there. And we are all gods in our own right, and we're equal with the God of this universe. And what we do is, as universes, each one is its own expression. And this universe, the expression of this one is light. That's its construct. All these other universes have different constructs, which I cannot, from inside this universe, perceive these other constructs. It was amazing. And and we contemplated life beyond, like how far does it go? And the God, the being that is the creator of this universe, will be the first to tell you that you exist beyond this being, that you are greater than this aspect of this being that we call God. And we are infinite. We always have been. We always will be. We've never been born out of anything. We've just always existed. And our existence is absolutely eternal and infinite. Just amazing.
So that's interesting. There's a few different levels here to this, and obviously that we can talk about. I mean, the first one, if we zoom out to the bigger picture, and take that first, so to speak. How do we end up in this particular universe, then, George? Why are we here? I guess in that sense.
Yeah, good question. Because why we choose to go into each other's beingness, if you want to put it that way, is to learn. It's like when this being expressed itself as light, everybody went, if you think of ourselves, we're all on a universal level here, and we're all looking at each other as universes, right? And this being expressed itself in this manner, and we just went, wow, that's really cool. I want to learn how to do that too. So an aspect of ourselves then go inside that being. So a part of us has come inside this universe and merged on a particular level of this universe, and merged with it and became one with it. And that's what we call the I am presence.
So we're not trapped in any way or got suckered in, so to speak, in that sense that we're... No. We were all here of our own choosing. Yeah. And that's really important to grasp, because it's important for people to take responsibility and not give their power away. That there's some kind of notion that we are fallen. And I mean, that notion in itself is right down towards the bottom and the bowels of this universe anyway. Those notions do not exist beyond that. So, yeah. So there, and if we zoom down further one level, more to the microcosm, I guess, version of this, then, if if we all come from somewhere else, if we look at this particular universe or even this galaxy, if we want to look at it even smaller, how do you think we came to Earth? If we came from different star systems or from different stars, does that mean that humanity overall as a species is an experiment, or have we come here to this particular planet for yet another reason of going deeper into the testing, so to speak, or the experience that we're having?
Yeah, I don't like the word experiment personally, because I think it kind of cheapens and devalues what's going on here. The reason we have come to Earth, I'll just preface that with the history of why we decided to come into the universe was to learn about this expression that we call light. And then when we came in at the higher end of this universe, we then worked our way down through the dimensions, all the levels. And what we did then was experience and exhaust all possibilities and outcome on each one of those levels. Because each one, what you do is you learn. Where you're learning, each experience that you have is a learning. And there are those of us who are coming to the point of wanting to graduate, because all possibilities and outcomes have been experienced by a great number of us, and we're about to become a creator of light ourselves. So it is, you go through this incredible process over eons and epochs of eras of time in each dimensional level of the universe. It's been an incredible, incredible journey. And we've come down through all these levels, and the largest one in physical size is what I call the fourth dimension, and you may have heard that term as well.
Yeah.
Now, the 4D paradigm is colossal. It has so many vibratory levels and octaves within it that beings see that structure itself as a universe, and it's not. It's just one dimensional level, but it's just so big. And we've come through all of that, and now we've come on into the galaxy, because the Milky Way galaxy is a fractal. It itself is the microcosm of the macrocosm. Hence the density of these realities we have here of our planet, our solar system, and the galaxy. It is more dense than any other galaxy. And what's happened is, because we have taken this massive journey of expansion down through the levels, and then especially the fourth dimension, we expanded immensely into the cosmos in such a big way. It's now time, if we are to become these creators of light, we need to bring all that separation, all that fragmentation. Now we need to start bringing it back towards oneness, back to reintegration, into harmony and balance. And so what happened was a galaxy was created, and it was created by the feminine aspect of this universe, what I call the Divine Mother, or the Divine Feminine. And that's why it's called the Milky Way galaxy, because it's the nurturing of the mother's milk. And so each galaxy out there, billions of them, have now been compressed into a star system. And so the billions of star systems in this galaxy are actually fractals of galaxies out there. And the beings that came and incarnated into these star systems were the ambassadors and the way showers from galaxies out there. And they've come into this galaxy, and then what you do is you compress life into one galaxy. And so there's been many wars in the history of this galaxy, because you're squeezing life, and you're making everybody jostle for position in such a small contained space. And we're now on the road to compression. And then from there we went, the compression went to the Orion Nebula. And that's why we've got what's called, the Star Wars trilogy, and there is many literature. There is quite a bit of literature on this planet about the Orion Wars. It was, and Orion is an aspect of the male expression of this universe, and so we needed to go into that paradigm to then transmute all the differences in the male warring warrior energy. And that's the archetype of the hunter as well. So these underlying vibrational patterns actually facilitate what life's experiences are required in each of these realities. And then from there we came to this solar system, and then from the solar system to one planet. So you can see we've been funneled down onto this road to compression, back towards oneness, or you can call it a 0 point even, and into harmony. And therefore, we're going through the process now of turning inside out.
Did you get a sense of understanding when it comes to how this transition actually happens? Does that mean that life organically arose on the planet and the properties were adequately set up here for us to incarnate into, human bodies, or how's the mechanics of this? Did you have any information about this, George?
Yeah, wonderful question. The way it came about was, first of all, the planet we are on is another, yet again, aspect of the feminine consciousness of this universe. And the reason for it is because it wants to show the way. It is facilitating this firsthand. So you've got this stepping down, different vibratory levels and aspects of the universal consciousness itself. And so we have the galactic level of its being, which is also known as Isis is another term in some of the cultures, for that level of feminine consciousness. Mart is another one. We then come down to, and then she steps down to Sirius. The Sirius system is another aspect of the feminine of this universe. And then it comes down to Mother Earth. So that is the stepping down of her consciousness. And then we're on this planetary body, which is now carrying us in our womb, and she's about to give birth to this new race of beings, or this whole planetary race of universal creators of light, which isn't the be-all and end-all. I'll get to that in a moment, which has to do with Ascension. But we are going through this incredible process, and what was manifested here was herself as the planet. Okay, it's the foundation, but the actual physical human embodiment was created by the 4D galactic embodiments of the universal creator itself. Now, the reason for that is because the creator of this universe, just like if you were to think of yourself as a creator of a universe and you have beings inside of you, wouldn't you take responsibility? Wouldn't you show the way? Wouldn't you play a participatory role and be on all these different levels with these beings? I know I would. Mm-hmm. And it just makes sense that that is a responsible way to go about producing life, creating life in all its different facets. And so you've got an expression of this universal consciousness on a galactic level, and those beings, male and female, came to this world, and they actually created this human form. And the reason it's called human is ancient word for hue, for God is hue. So it's human, and man actually means mind. So it's godly being of godly mind. And you have this generic form called human, and we have all the codes within us. And that means that absolutely any race from out there, whether it's a lion being or a grey or a mantis being or any kind of the humanoids out there, it doesn't matter, reptilian, dragon, it doesn't matter. We have all the codes in our bodies. So therefore, any race out there can then come and incarnate into human form and go through this final stage of the process.
Interesting. I want to talk a little bit about the physical level and the experience that we're having right now on this planet a little bit later, basically where we're going and so forth as well. But I want to touch a little bit more upon this idea of the fact of how we learn this experience that you mentioned. To me, it sounds like we've been kind of breaking up reality, I guess, in one sense, like a scientist in a lab is studying a molecule. It can teach us a lot about the smaller functions of things, obviously, but if we don't apply that knowledge, fractally to the bigger scale, we're losing out on the bigger picture, obviously, and where we're going. Is that where we have been in that sense? I mean, have we reached the lowest level at this point, or are we going to go further down into this fractal? And if not, where are we going next, George?
Yeah, now, first thing I'll preface that answer is that everybody's on their own individual journey. So there are those of us who began this journey eons ago, and there are more and more people awakening to this. They're beginning to remember within themselves that, hang on, why am I here? And I'm actually here to become something new, something much greater. And that people know, like myself, that we have come from these other realms, the 4D, the extraterrestrial realm, the path and the exploration of life via technology, and all these different aspects and expressions of life. We've been through all these processes and we've done all these processes. So now we've come to planet Earth to actually become something new, something that hasn't existed before for us. Now, there's only one being that has created this existence for itself. And we are now becoming as the being, and that is the universal creator. So this is actually the first planet where it's happening. So outside of this paradigm and outside of the paradigm of the extraterrestrial influences on Earth at this time, there is reality. Okay, because this is another big subject that I just sparked off here. But there is the reality of what's happening. And all the meetings that I've had with beings out there throughout my life, which I will call benevolent beings, have been preparing. Everybody out there knows, on all the multitudes of the cosmos, all the different layers and levels of the universe, all the attention of all that life, most of it is focused right here on Earth right now. We are literally the greatest show in the universe, and it's not ego and it's not arrogance. It's just everybody's fascinated to see they're witnessing this process, which is fail-proof. It's not going to fail. Okay, we're in linear time. I've experienced a bit of the future as well because the future's already happened, and so it really is an outcome which will be so positive for the beings that see it through, and there'll be other beings who are not actually here to finally go through this process. Some are here to experience the way things are now, and what they will do is they'll go off-world because that's their soul journey. They won't resonate with what I'm saying. They'll resonate, say, with ETs to want to go off-world and take a different path, a different journey. And they'll go to other planetary systems which are being set up as we speak, who will take the next cycles of life and the next set of processes for this journey to occur, for the outcome to be achieved.
Mm-hmm. So there's so many different points here I want to touch upon in that sense, but if we, I guess I'm struggling with this idea also how can something higher, if I can put it that way, arise from something lower, at least when it comes to the perspective of consciousness, much like the question of how can a human being arise from a monkey, and I'm not trying to downplay the monkeys here, I know, in that sense, but have we forgotten this knowledge, the previous levels that we've been through? Because to me it feels like we're kind of in this almost devolutionary, where we're going so far down into the experience that we're kind of forgetting the bigger picture, and at least for me personally, when I look around, I don't see huge enlightenment overall in the bigger picture of humanity right now. What's your take on that, George?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. We have been on the path of devolution, exactly, we have. And it bottomed out in the period that we call the Dark Ages, and it was called that for a reason. And what we're doing now, we had the Renaissance, and we're coming out of that. And what's happened is you've got this outside influence on the planet at the moment, which is trying to, on one level, stop that from happening, and that's a delusion, of course, because it can't. And on another level, higher aspects of this force, this negative force, want to actually steer people off the path. Mm-hmm. So their intention is to steer as many people away from this organic process of ascension as possible. So we're coming up. So because we journeyed down through the dimensions of the universe, and we went right down to the depths and the bowels and to the furthest points of separation that we can go. And now we're starting to bring it all back, and we're on the way back. But even though the perception of devolution has been in the last few millennia on this planet, it's think of that as a mini cycle, because it's all fractals. It's cycles within cycles within cycles. And so just like the Mayan calendar expresses that we are compressing previous cycles into these smaller cycles. So we're replaying everything that we've done before, but just in shorter periods of time.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess also in one sense, I mean, I have my own personal idea of why some of these, malevolent forces are here, what their reason might be, and what their function is, and why they're allowed to be here. But I mean, if we look at this from the point of view of God, if you will, that you spoke of earlier, what is the higher function for that? Why are they allowed to try to derail us from the path that we're on, George?
Now, first thing I want to clear up too is that the concept of God that I'm expressing is not biblical, okay, and It's not religious in any form. It is reality, okay. So it is the reality that exists beyond religious paradigms, scientific paradigms, and New Age paradigms. That's where I'm coming from. So I just want, because, the moment you mention the word God, people feel funny about it. I just use that label.
Sure.
We can call it the universal creator, the universal consciousness. You can use whatever label you like.
Yeah.
It was just one that people are familiar with. And so the reason we have this negative force here on Earth is because it's graduation time. And so because this is a polarity-based construct, the greater portion of this universe is a light expression of light, which is a waveform. So you've got the whole universe the portion of the universe that is in this type of light construct is a polarity-based expression of light. Even when you're right up there in the high frequencies of light, much higher than what we're experiencing here, or even the 4D, you have an expression of light which is still frequency. At the moment you have frequency, you have polarization.
Yeah.
Because you're bouncing from one side to another, and you have waveform. And so what the negative charge does is it challenges you. And that's the way the learning process occurs in this universe. It is through adversity that we prosper. And people will say, well, why would anyone want to suffer? Why would anyone want to go through adversity? If you just sit in a room wrapped up in cotton wool the whole time, you don't learn anything.
That's right.
You got to get out there and you got to live it. You got to go through all these experiences in order to learn and gain the wisdom in your soul. So what you have is you have negative and positive. And these negative and positive constructs, each one of those are self-righteous in their own right. So the plus and the positive and the light that is in opposition to the negative and the dark is actually equal to the negative and the dark. It sees itself as above it, but it's not.
Of course.
It's no better.
Yeah.
Okay? And they become very self-righteous. They're the do-gooders. And the light the expression of love and light that I'm coming from is you've got to take those two expressions and you integrate them into one. Okay?
Yeah.
Because we've fragmented. And so the negative energies that are here on the planet now, we ourselves, from a much higher aspect of ourselves, have actually contracted them, okay, to come here and challenge us to the nth degree. Because if anybody falls for their traps, their lures and entrapments, then you're not ready to become a creator. Because you can imagine creating a light-based, polarity-based universe and it's spiraling out of control. We can't have that.
Yeah.
You just can't in creation, because it will be a disaster.
Yeah.
So really, you've got to get to the point where you've accumulated enough wisdom to be able to hold center and remain balanced through all the challenges that we are currently going through and the ones we're about to experience in the next 2 years. Profound challenges and experiences like you haven't seen anything yet. And really, once we get through that, then you know you've made it, honestly. And it's about having that deep, heart-centered connection.
Well, I definitely want to ask you about what we might be up for next as well. But I like this concept and this idea that you're presenting here. Obviously, a polarity-based construct, those who don't understand that, look at everything in nature. Even the politics and the corporate world have understood this and adopted that. That's why we have this kind of Hegelian, philosophy working through society as well, because it's a construct from nature. And I think that some of these philosophers and subsequent some of these propagandists in the world currently understood this. So they understand that we have to take this in order to create something, for something to work and be operational in our world. It needs to be of this kind of, the polarity-based construct, basically. So that makes sense to me as well. And that's why it's so important, obviously, to just not always take the comfy road as well. It's not always the road of least resistance that is the most, the best one, if I put it that way. You actually need to have some bumps along the ride as well, right, George?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, there are some major hurdles along the way, but those bumps and hurdles, well, while they hurt at the time and you're in that experience, it's never too pleasant. But once you get out the other end of it, there's always an appreciation.
Absolutely. So let's see here. Where do we want to go next? I guess we can talk about what we're up for next. I mean, how do you see things unfolding here in the next couple of years? And I mean, I guess from my personal point of view, I thought that more would have unfolded, if I put it that way, and happened by this time. 2011, we're marching towards 2012, and for some reason I thought that there would have been more calamity in one sense, more chaos, and not from the point of view that I want to see this or whatever and urge it to bring it on, but at the same time, it's been kind of working slow, because in some cases I see the deconstructive as being a good force actually in the world at the end of it, and some of these paradigms we're living through right now in reality needs to kind of break up a bit, but that hasn't happened as quickly as I expected. How about you, George?
Yeah, not as quickly as George would have liked either. But from the perspective of my greater being, yeah, it's kind of a good thing that it hasn't happened yet, because it allows us to have an easier go of it. So what will happen is it'll be very intense over a shorter period of time, rather than drawing out, because the world is, and the people are suffering. There's so much suffering in the world as it is. So rather than making it worse, it actually ends up being a little bit better. It softens the blow, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's happening is it's like a quiet revolution that's happening behind the scenes, because the changes are actually coming in from a subatomic level, and our atoms are spinning faster. I know mine are. I know, like I know my being, so I feel that they're spinning faster. My molecules are vibrating faster, and the reason I'm sensitive to this, because I've been in so many different realities. I've been beamed up into so many different ships. Each race has its own vibration, so therefore my molecules were vibrating differently. Each time I came back, it took different rates of recovery. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
every reality has its own vibrational pattern. I've even, dare I say, I've been to Mars, and that has its own vibrational reality.
Well,
and
I haven't had any of those kinds of experiences, but I'm feeling that too, George. The strangeness in terms of frequency, how the time picks up, and the kind of almost a nervous, jittery feeling that is happening right now. But go ahead, George.
Yeah, and we're in an acceleration of time. We're on a J-curve here. We're a logarithmic J-curve. It's accelerating, and I've got that in my harmonic equations. We've got the fixed timeline of 24,832 years, and we have the illusionary timeline, where you take that 24,832 years and you increase it by 6.18%, which is 1 over phi, which is the Christ consciousness below unity, which is where we are. And that ends up to be 26,366.618 years. And I don't want to get all heady and technical about it, but, it comes down to the point of the precessional cycle being measured earlier on in last century, and then later on in that century, and there's been an increase in the cycles. Mm-hmm. So when they measured it earlier on, it was 25,800 years, and then in the 80s it was 25,920 years. So you can see that the acceleration is occurring. If they were to measure it now, and I challenge anybody to measure the precessional cycle now, please do. Please go ahead. Mm-hmm. You will see that it's over 26,000 years now. And then as we get closer now to 21st of March 2013, which is the critical point in time where the cycle actually ends, you will see it'll add up to exactly 26,366.618 years. And so we're on this illusionary timeline that we're experiencing. So time is speeding up, definitely. And the changes that we're about to go through. So what I want to share with people too, I'll preface that, because the information that I'm about to share will just sound crazy, and I know it will. And I've struggled with this for years. I really have. But when I keep going out and having these meetings with beings and all these other levels, and I connect with Mother Earth and I connect with Father Sun on the deep levels that I have, I can't not say this anymore. And it sounds crazy and it sounds nuts. And my personal friends they enjoy everything what I say, but this one point in conjecture each time, that this planet is going to become a being of light, and the point of time when it's going to happen. So I'm just going to express it, because this is what's in my being. It's not a program in my head. This is in my being, and I can't not say this. I have to speak my truth, so I hope people can respect me for that.
All right.
So what we have here is it has to do with 2012. It has to do with the ending of the Mayan calendar, and the cycle actually does not end on the 21st of December 2012. It actually ends on the 21st of March 2013, because it's not the precession of the solstices. It's the precession of the equinoxes. And the Mayan calendars that a lot of people are studying are just a little bit out. Not much, just a little bit out in the harmonics. And they could say, well, don't be ridiculous. That's a ridiculous statement. But just like the Bible or any piece of literature, it's been modified down through the ages. So when you have the original pieces of the calendar. The outer lying sort of settlements, they had their versions of the same calendar. And so what we are just seeing is the very few pieces that made it through the millennia of an agenda of disseminating and destroying any piece of evidence of life and its true life cycles on this planet. Mm-hmm. So something got through, some remnants got through, and that's what these people are studying, just a few bits and pieces that made it through of this incessant agenda of going around to every culture on Earth and destroying everything that recorded the natural cycles of life.
Yeah.
And so,
that's an explanation, if you will, then on some of the behavior of the Roman Catholic Church, for instance, and the destruction of knowledge and of people and of cultures and of we have the burning of witches and the eradication of shamans and all that happening throughout human history. So you're saying there's a reason for that, basically.
Absolutely. It was to totally take away the true knowledge of life and the natural cycles of life. So we ended up being assimilated into this false and synthetic construct that we are conditioned into our societies with.
Yeah.
So the cycles actually end on the 21st of March 2013. Now I have harmonic equations that are showing that, and I'm no mathematician, right? I'm just sharing this knowledge that I've bought from within my being and from my journeys. And I ask anybody who knows anything about harmonics, please take a look at those equations, because there's something there. Because that cycle of 24,832 years, that actually plugs into the DNA, our DNA. It plugs into everything, all the cycles of time. It just plugs into so much, just that one equation. So it's not 26,000 years. It's deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. Okay. So what the events that will play out is that on the 21st of March 2013 is when the planet hits center, fine center. Because in order for a planet to ascend, or any being to ascend, ourselves to ascend, for example, it's important for us to find center. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's just being sensible about it. It's not a major revelation. And so if Mother Earth is going to ascend and become a being of light, then she needs to find center. And this is where the scientific side comes into play, because we're about to experience a pole shift. And on the 21st of December 2012 is when Mother Earth really starts to straighten up on her axis. She needs to find center. So the wobble will come to an end, because the wobble was one of the aspects of creating a underlying vibrational pattern, a field an environment that we can come and incarnate in to have the experiences of duality that we're having. It's one of the mechanics that set up this whole environment of duality that we're experiencing here. One of the variables.
And do you think that this, 23.5 or so, axis shift or tilt that we have, was this, some people have speculated that was because of catastrophe or what have you, or other reasons, but this is a natural, this was meant to happen in that sense, right? This was a point.
From higher levels, everything that occurs is planned. Not everything is by design. There is no such thing as an accident. Okay, everything is by design. Everything you've experienced in your life is by your own design, by a higher aspect of your being. So there's no accidents here, because the moment you start entertaining the idea of an accident, you're giving your power away to something. You're blaming something outside of you, and that's just that's not really what life, the construct of life, is.
Yeah. And so can these things take different form? In other words, we can look at it from it might have been a planetary collision or something else, a calamity happening in our solar system that created the circumstances. But again, that's just the outcome of that's just how it looked to us from this, from our dimension, from our reality. But the purpose is still deeper and goes beyond that.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, exactly. That's a very good way of saying it. And the moon has a big role to play in all of this too. Big
Sure.
Story about the moon. And as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't been here very long. My knowing is that it came, and I'm not absolute on this, but there are some things that I feel really, really absolute about. I'm not absolute on this. but I really feel strongly that the moon was placed here about 6,000 years ago.
That recently, huh?
Yeah, I do. And you'll see that there was quite a calamity that took place geologically around that time. And there's a lot of good reasons why it came around that time. And it's interesting that religions say that life started about 6,000 years ago. So there's no coincidence there.
Even the Masons, I think, Anno Lucius, they call it, is about, I think their calendar is almost up to 6,000 years right now.
Yeah, and it has to do with the beings that put the moon there and the beings that live inside the moon, because it's definitely an artificial satellite. There's just no doubt about that. Yeah, really.
That is interesting. Yeah. Do you think that we will find these things out as well as we go here, as we proceed? There is now, other nations have planning missions to the moon. There recently was photographs being taken on the backside of the moon and things like that. Do you think that we're in the age where more and more will become known, or how do you see this unfolding, George?
Yeah, the way I see it unfolding, Henrik, is that we will know for ourselves. So everything that I'm sharing here is my experiences and my wisdom that I've gained throughout these experiences. But there is only one great truth in the universe. And the definition of truth, or the one great truth, is it's just the way things are. And the notion that all truth is relative is a very dangerous notion, because small truths, I will say, are relative. But the fact that you and I, Henrik, have this aspect of our being incarnated here on this earth at this time, in this part of the universe, is true for you and me, is true for everybody in the universe. That is a universal fact. It is not an illusionary concept. It's real. We're here. This part of us is here. And so the concept that this is all just an illusion as well, that's dangerous too, because that just totally cheapens and devalues what's actually going on here on this planet. It's like this: just because you understand the way television works doesn't mean you're just going to sit there the whole time and go, all I'm seeing is electronic signals just being placed onto a screen, and, go the old cathode ray, buy a gun at the back of the tube onto a phosphorus screen. And, do you sit there just thinking like that the whole time? No, you're actually going to sit back and enjoy the movie.
Sure.
And so just because we've discovered the construct of this reality through quantum physics doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean there's no value here for the experiences that we're coming here. It doesn't mean that we don't actually... this is all just a dream and illusion, and there's nothing real about it at all. No, this is a reality. We've manifested this reality, and we've come here for a reason. And there's good reasons for our existence here. So it's important not to fall into that trap, because there are so many mind-bending philosophies out there that want to turn us against our existence here. They want to build that internal divide and that resentment towards actually your existence here. It's a very clever trap. So be careful of that. Now, going back to the events of what's going to transpire, my understanding of the events are that on December 21, 2012, there are openings that are actually going to close on that date. Now, these openings will start to happen towards the end of this year, probably around November. There'll be groups of people, small groups, that will start to walk through organic openings on the Earth, because this ascension process that I'm talking about is seeing it through with Mother Earth. You see, I've come onto Mother Earth. I'm here for a reason. People have come from all over the universe to be here. Why? Why did we come here? Did you come here just to be taken off by an ET? Did you come here just to walk through a Stargate? Well, for some people, they're going to do that, and they think that's the right path. But there's much greater purpose for our existence here, for this great woman to have gone through what she's gone through. So again, it's the devaluation of the divine feminine, and what and her very expression and existence is facilitating this very process here. So what's going to happen is these openings will start to occur, organic ones. And I'm not talking about technological stargates, portals, or anything like that. These are just like, I call them doorways, and the sacred geometry behind, or not behind, that you can use to define them in a mathematical construct is a Vesica Pisces. And that's really what the fish of Christianity meant. It's not a male thing. It's actually a female thing. And because anybody who really knows what's going on here will tell you that it is the female that actually holds the power here, not the male. And all the baptizing into the baptismal waters and everything like that actually was done by Mary Magdalene and her 12 apostles or high priestesses. And that's another thing people have forgotten. And so everything that I share, the true knowledge is inside each and every one of us. So if you don't agree with what I'm saying now, that's fine, really, honestly, it is. But there is the truth inside each and every one of us, and that veil will lift very soon. And people, I'm getting emails from people all over the world, Henrik, honestly, that they are so resonating with what I'm saying because they know it for themselves, not because I said it. So when I communicate with people, it is really, I'm just providing triggers, and people are often running because, I'm not interested in followers or anything like that.
Sure.
It is just for people, I'm here to empower people to stand in their own right. And so we are human, we are sovereign beings, and we are here to go through this particular process, an organic process, not to be lured off-world by mind-bending philosophies and technologies. And so I'm going to see it through with Mother Earth. And these openings, it's the womb of the mother. And that's what the serpent rope is from South America. It's not a wormhole as some people have interpreted. It's actually the umbilical cord coming from the center of the galaxy. And if I can explain that, when we incarnate into a reality, into any galactic reality, any one of them, what you do is first you enter, your essence enters through the core of the galaxy, and you merge and you become one with that being, the consciousness that is that galaxy, which we all are galaxies out there too, by the way, and stars and planets. So you merge and you become one with that. So when we entered the Milky Way galaxy, we entered through the core of the galaxy, and we merged and we became one with the Milky Way, the consciousness that is this galaxy, hence the Divine Mother of the universe. Then when you go out, we branch out, and from the center of the galaxy, you go to your nominated star system. What you do then is you then enter through the core of that star, your essence does, and you merge and you become one with the being that is that star system. Because what you're doing is you're calibrating your essence into the vibrational pattern of the galaxy, and then you calibrate your essence into the vibrational pattern of the star system. And then from there you go out to the planetary body you wish to incarnate onto. And then you enter through the core of the consciousness of that planet. That's what our essence does. And you merge and you calibrate your essence to the vibrational pattern of that planet. And then you go out into your incarnational embodiment. So that's the flow. That's the natural flow, the natural order of things. Hence in ancient Egypt, you have the Akhenaten and you have the energy coming from the sun and the hands coming from the sun. It's not worshipping the sun. It's actually understanding the sun. Mm-hmm. It's understanding the flow, the natural flow and order of energy. And so once we go through this process, I've actually lost my train of thought.
Well, I was a little bit interested in asking you a little bit about actually what happens. Well, I guess some of the effects, obviously, when some of these things begin to unfold, and there's two different levels to this. First one is if the Earth axis, straightens up. And by the way, I was just came across this here today, that after the Chile earthquake here, not too long ago, that actually altered Earth's axis. It actually shortened the day. This was on something with 1.26 millionth of a second or something like that. But it still shows that this is actually something that is affected by earthquakes. And again, we don't know how much, or let's say we have a heck of a lot more earthquakes happening around that period of time or so as well, which means that it might actually significantly impact the Earth axis. But how do you think that this will unfold? Will this mean that the seasons on the Earth will disappear as well then, or what will happen?
Well, they're moving around so much. The seasons are moving around. I mean, our winters here in Australia, the coolness of spring goes right through up until the solstice. And we're only experiencing hot weather now through February, January, February, March, and it goes into April. And so it's like the seasons are shifting around, and the magnetic north's moving all over the place. And there's record temperatures in Siberia down to minus 75 degrees Celsius, which is just crazy. And so everything's changing. It'll just become more prevalent as time goes on, and then it'll get to like a tipping point where it'll start to happen fast. Because dare I just quote from the Bible, and I'm not a biblical person, but it's appropriate. right to the very last days. They bought, they sold, they celebrated, they built, and it's going to be pretty similar. Although we're going to see a bit of a show in the public arena to do with what's the big show called disclosure, which is really a joke as far as I'm concerned, and anybody else who knows. It's a joke, this disclosure concept, because ETs have always been a part of our life here on Earth. They've never not been a part of it.
Yeah.
So the concept of first contact and disclosure is just really a charade for the masses. So, things like that will occur between now and then. There'll be plenty to keep people occupied and distracted. But my recommendation is to try and remain connected with Mother Earth and centred within your own being. And don't let anyone tell you what to do. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just sharing with you how I see life, the processes that are coming, and the journey I wish to take. I want to stay with Big Mama, and I want to see it through with her. And I'm not going to get lured off by any of these other groups, and because I've been manipulated by them, and I can really go to town on that sort of stuff too. And they're not what they seem, Henrik. All these ETs that I've had a lot of experiences behind the scenes with our shadow governments and what have you, and these ETs are in contact with our planet at the moment. They are absolutely not what they seem.
Well, I would reckon, obviously, to me it's a kind of a no-brainer that if the deceitful people at the top, the establishment in that sense, if they were to unveil this in somewhere, in terms of disclosure of the aliens, that they would obviously use this to their own advantage to further their own agenda and to further try to enslave humanity in one way or another under this kind of banner. How that unfolds, I don't know, but I would be suspicious about that. But I guess if we zoom out a little bit again and talk about this potentially seasons disappearing, do you think that this will mean that we will have a more balanced, if I put it this way, then Earth as well, maybe where you could grow more on all many different in many different countries, as opposed to how it is now? We have we can only grow food, for instance, up here during a certain period of the year, etc. Will this, in other words, will this enable us to have a more balanced and stable society, actually, in one way, where we can utilize the weather and the planet differently, actually?
Well, it's like this. The physical environment, when you look around you, and you said, even you said it's very dualistic. And there's a lot of beauty in it. I mean, really, there's so much beauty here. But underlying that beauty, you go deeper and you look, like you just look out in the nature and you see this beautiful bird. And you're going, well, gee, what a beautiful bird. Next thing you know, it turns around and it's whacking a worm against a branch and it hacks it to pieces. Now, does that worm in that moment thinking, gee, what a beautiful bird? I really don't think so. And so it's important to understand that the physical environment we have is totally barbaric, and it has served its purpose for the epoch and the era that we have been in. And now what's happening is this new way of life is birthing. And we no longer require this environment, this physical environment. So it is in the process of deconstructing. And there's plenty of evidence about that. There really is. The Hadron Collider has just made massive discoveries, which you're not going to hear about. I found out because I found myself remote viewing in the middle of the night and got to see some paperwork. And what they have discovered is that they have what's called instability factor. And because you have elements that are stable and you have elements that are unstable. So they have a rating for all the elements. And what they found, because when they did the first experiments, they thought they created the instability themselves. That's why they shut it down straight away. They freaked out. And what they've done since is they have done similar experiments in colliders around the world, and the same results are appearing. And what they found is that all our elements are becoming unstable. And the rate that they're becoming unstable is what's really freaked them out. Like, they are scared because they don't understand things like I understand things, or like you and others about Ascension. They are just seeing that this whole reality is destabilizing, and they're quite frightened about that.
Sorry, I just want to ask one thing right there, because that's interesting, because I've been pondering upon the idea that if, maybe not that the physical laws are like breaking down, but if certain things, for whatever reason, is changing so fast on the Earth, one level to this is that their technology and some of the things that they're now coming up with, even including all the GMO stuff, the genetically modified crops and things like that, is actually because they want to try to preserve something that's changing so quickly that they believe it's falling apart and it's getting out of their control in that sense, out of their hands. Is that what is happening right now, do you think?
It is exactly what is happening. Oh, really? Like a lot of these powers that were, they're not the powers that be, they are the powers that were, and they thought they were in control. They have come to realize that they are not, and they're just continuing to portray the illusion that they know what's going on, and they are totally winging it. They really are. And this reality is changing at such a fast rate that they just really, they're really very frightened at the moment. And the rate that these elements are becoming unstable is instability infinitum. It's infinite. So therefore, this whole reality is going to an infinite state of being. They don't know. And when you look also at the Montauk projects, like really look at the Montauk projects, look at the time chair experiments that they did in Montauk. Dig deep and look into this material and look at how every time they moved forward in that time chair, every time, and each time you do that, you're going through a probable avenue, but the destination was the same. Every time they got to the 21st of March 2013, and they didn't do it just once, they did it time and time again, that every time they hit the 21st of March 2013, this reality ceased to exist and everything was pure light. So you've got to understand that behind the scenes, they have known this for a while. That's why the re-terraforming of Mars and what the project there is called Project Genesis is been in full swing for decades. Mm-hmm. And that is reality. This is all happening behind the scenes and we are just being treated like mushrooms. And I've got the luxury of having these experiences because I went there and I was summoned there and I went there. So I'm telling you from first-hand experiences, not from some deluded state of mind as some people would like to believe.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is very, very interesting, and I'd love to talk more about that obviously as well. I've been interested in what is happening on Mars, and we've seen some of the photos where we see ice caps beginning to come and go. Some people have pointed out vegetation now as well. We have these green patches on Mars that's really interesting.
Well, the reality is that there is an atmosphere on Mars already.
Right.
I stood on the surface. There is an atmosphere there.
Okay.
And we are just being treated like mushrooms. Honestly, we are. And there is at least 1 million Earth people there already. So many super soldiers that have been bred for making sure they maintain order over there. And the chain and the different areas that these people have to go through to be acclimatized to the vibration of Mars. It took me days to get over that trip because when you stand on the surface of another planet, and I've been to other planetary bodies as well, not just Mars in this one lifetime, when you stand on those other planetary bodies, you are resonating the vibrational pattern of that planet. And when I came back, I was sick for days. And these people are being injected with nanites and they're being told they're being inoculated for stuff. But really they've just been filled with nanites and all sorts of stuff. To maintain the vibration, they're being calibrated to the vibratory patterns of that planet. So when they go there and they go into these different holographic realities where they spend each time in these different areas and they just get told they've got jobs to do there, but they don't realise that they're actually being slowly calibrated to the vibration of the planet.
So it's maybe to these kinds of projects that all the money on Earth seem to have gone, all the gold that seem to have disappeared and all the wealth that it just seems to be kind of vanishing at this point. Maybe they still need money to actually pull off some of these projects. Who knows, huh?
In some areas of these products, they do need funding, but in many areas, they don't.
Yeah. George, I'd like to begin to wrap things up here for the first hour and obviously continue with you in our second for our members. This is really, really interesting, this conversation, and I'm really enjoying it. Why don't we just finish off on this question here, though? I'm interested, obviously, in how this will affect people. Obviously, they are connected spiritually, maybe more than others in that sense, but if we just for a moment here look at how this will unfold for, let's say, people who are never ever even heard about this kind of stuff, how will they be able to make sense of this, and how do you think that this will impact them on a psychological level? Will they be, are we talking about people who will be so shocked if things are beginning to break down at this kind of level around them that they actually will not be able to make it through this time? Again, are we talking about people who actually will lose it in that sense from a mental and psychological point of view, or how do you see happen? Again, I'm just talking about this from the point of view of average Joe, as they say, in that sense. I mean, how will they perceive all this, do you think?
All of the above. There will be people who have breakdowns. I mean, if anybody tries to, I've had lots of the experiences of trying to tell people about the greater aspects of life. No doubt you have when you try to tell family and friends about what's going on behind the scenes with the power structures on the earth and,
Sure.
and what have you. The way they look at you is just just the glaze over the eyes, and instantly we're crazy.
That's right.
No, really, when things start to really change in a big way in the public arena, because if you think like the veil is like a damn wall, and it's just barely holding, and soon it's just going to break and flood into the public arena. So when this happens, it's going to happen, and it's not going to happen slowly. It's going to be a pretty big deal, and people are going to freak out. There will be groups who will commit suicide, cult groups, religious groups. You know, there'll be all sorts of weird things going on the planet. So it'll be quite chaotic on many levels. I would say maintain your integrity, maintain your centre. And let me give you this example. Mary Jo, raising 3 kids, single mum, working 2 part-time jobs, doing the best she can. Well, guess what? Her and her kids are going to ascend. Okay, I'm not saying there's a case for everybody, but
Sure.
this is going to happen. And the reason they're going to ascend is because at the moment they're very much entrenched in the veil and in the matrix. But she's having her soul journey, her life's experience. And the time will come when the veil will just lift for her and she will know exactly where to go and what to do. And so what I say to people is the knowing will come from inside of you, because a greater aspect of yourself is the composer and the orchestrator and the conductor of this life you're having here on earth. So I say go within yourself and you will know within you, trust and believe in yourself that you have provided the time when you will awaken and you will know for yourself. And don't let anyone tell you what to do. And just believe and trust in yourselves, because that's the ultimate knowing. Because that greater part of you is the part that is in one and harmony with the rest of life.
Okay, March 21st, 2013, a prediction, daring, but obviously interesting listening to this. It's really interesting. Let's mention your site here, obviously, as well, so we can give out some more details to people who want to continue following your work and take a look at some of the other things that you are doing as well. Let's see, the website, Kavassilas .org, obviously. Can you spell the last name for us, George, so we can find the right website?
Yeah, sure. It's George Kavassilas, spelled KAVASSILAS.org. So www.georgekavassilas.org.
Excellent. We will have the links up on redicecreations.com as well, so you can click through easily from there. Is there anything else you want to mention about the website, what you have there, or where you recommend people maybe to go if they're newcomers or if they're familiar already with your work?
Well, there's a whole lot of literature there and videos, and no charge for people to watch. I've also got a global tour, which I'm embarking on. In a couple of weeks, I'll leave for Spain. And we're heading your way, Henrik, over to Sweden.
Yeah.
Around May.
Around May, okay, I see. Well, where will you be going up here in Sweden?
Yeah, it'll be really good. We're very much looking forward to it, and looking at doing three cities there, and just in Sweden alone. So things are getting quite. The demand is there. People are just resonating. They say in the head, it's nuts, it's crazy, but it just feels right in the heart. So that's what I get from everybody. So that's all I can share. Is it sounds nuts, and I agree, totally agree, but it feels right.
All right. Well, that sounds good. That's very interesting, and we'll take a look at some of the dates, obviously, again, when you're going to be up here, and then obviously where you will be going, and we'll provide links, obviously, again on redicecreations.com for people who are listening to this and want to head where you're going, George, and take a look at your presentations and maybe meet you in person and so forth as well. So that is indeed excellent. But stay with us, George, and we'll continue to talking more here in our next hour.